Curb Your Enthusiasm, which just wrapped its 10th season on HBO, has been hailed as one of the funniest shows on TV. And since the 6th season, a big reason for that has been the hilarious JB Smoove, who plays Leon Black on the HBO show. And now JB is angling to get into the Emmy race for Comedy Supporting Actor. I'm Charlie Bright from Gold Derby, and we are joined by Mr. Smoove. And my first question is, I just want to go back a couple of years when Curb came back for its 9th season after like a 6-year hiatus. What was it like coming back to a show that you had been away from for 6 years?
Oh man, the crazy thing about it was we were gone almost 6 years, man. And I think we were all so busy, of course, Larry shot a movie. He also did his play. I don't think anybody realized that we were even gone that long. I don't know. I think when you're busy, I was on tour. I shot a few movies. I did a bunch of guest starring roles on a bunch of TV shows. So I guess it kind of went as fast as the 6 years. But at the same time, I think we're always up in the air because we never know if Larry's ever going to come back. I mean, no matter from the time I got on the show, till now, I don't think we ever had an idea if Larry would come back or not anyway. So I don't think anybody was banking on it. So I guess you kind of continue to live your normal career not knowing whether you're going to come back or not. So those years went back, it felt the same as any other year or two that he took off. It didn't feel any different to me because I guess we were all so busy. And, of course, I was in the movie Clear History with Larry. So, that was something busy to do. I went to see Larry on Broadway when he was in Fish in the Dark. I went to see his play. So it's like we all see each other. Me and Jeff see each other. We see each other all the time. And I would see Susie once in a while. Me and Richard Lewis would run into each other once in a while. So I think it was one of those things where as long as you see the people that you are used to working with, it doesn't feel like you're away from work because everything always seems natural. A natural, separation from each other from the show to our real life. So I never even noticed that it was over 5 years. It just when you're busy, you don't realize it, So, but the past 2 years he's closed that gap a little bit from last year, and so it's not too bad now. But that was a long time to be off.
One of the things I think is so interesting about Leon and what you bring to the character is that usually, when a new character is introduced into a show like midway through its run, it can be very hit or miss. But Leon has really, really made his mark here, and I'm wondering, why do you think Leon has remained such a standout character despite being introduced halfway through the run of the series?
I think Larry needed another foil. He needed someone to shake things up a little bit. I think Leon's that kind of character. I think he needed somebody who was the opposite of him. And I also think that when the characters kind of had they had these amazing moments, there wasn't another voice, opposite voice, an additional thought to the character, to the show. And with Leon, I think there's also, outside of the character itself, I think the sensibilities of myself brought something different to the show. And also, I'm a stand-up, so my process is a little different. I also studied improv when I first started doing stand-up, which is true. I don't want to date myself, but somewhere around the late 80s, early 90s, I took an improv class. So for me, I took that little tool and put that tool in my toolbox, and I've always performed in that way. I improvise a lot in my stand-up show. I've always, I got 2 New York Comedy Awards, as being the best impromptu comic, so for me, it's an additional challenge, man, to, first of all, get on the show, my favorite show of all time. I don't know if many of us get a chance to be, to work at our favorite place to work at, or this was my opportunity to actually get on a show that I love. I loved the whole time I was working at SNL as a writer. I would watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I would always want to be on that show. And I think, Larry he sets you up so well, though. You can't even take credit for everything, because he just underhand pitches stuff to you, and it's like, and what he writes about is basically human nature, and he has found a way to capture that. And some people say the show is cringeworthy, but he's found a way to make it cringeworthy yet hilarious, and that goes for everybody on the show. I think it's the sum of its parts that makes the show so unique and so fun, man. And and being on a show that relies on improv is, it's like walking on a tightrope with no net, and it fit me perfectly, man. And I think needing that character, he needed an additional voice, someone who could challenge him, but even as an actor in the scenes, I have to make a choice of which direction to go, and I think that lends itself to the show and adds some depth to the show also. So a lot of times I have to decide in any scene if I want to go with Larry or go against him. So, and that right there can take a different turn to every scene, whether Leon has his back or Leon doesn't have his back. Either Leon's going to say that's wrong, or Leon's going to say, "Yo, you're right, Larry." And I think that's what gives the show, my character is an amazing presence on the show, because you don't know which way he's going to go.
Yeah, you bring up that you had that improv background, but I must imagine, when you first came onto that set, and being surrounded by, people like Larry David, Jeff Garland, and Susie Essman, that must have been, that I can only imagine, the feelings that you must have had. Were you intimidated at all when you first arrived on that set?
Ooh, I think what happened with me was my appearance, my first day on the job kind of, spun off of very quickly my audition for the show. So having done the audition, which, I have a certain way I go into auditions. I try to go into the audition as the character. That way I don't got to turn them on when they say, okay. And plus, I didn't know, what helped me out was, I didn't know I was going to be improvising with Larry in the audition. I had no idea. I was just basically in LA for one day. This is after I didn't get renewed on SNL, and I was basically in LA for one day. And I got a chance to go in and audition for Curb Your Enthusiasm. I was only in town for a friend's memorial, but it's kind of like everything came at one time. So for me, it kind of all made sense, And once I improvised with Larry in the audition, it's like I just carried over from that moment into the first show. And thank goodness that the first episode that I shot was the same exact stuff I did in the audition exactly. So I didn't have to, I saw what worked. I saw what they laughed at. I saw what they loved about the character that I presented them. And all I had to do was basically think like, this is my second day at work, In all reality, that's how I felt. Like it was my second day at work as opposed to my first day at work.
So going back to your skills as an improviser, is there a certain person in the cast that you particularly enjoy doing scenes with because of their improv skills?
I'm gonna be honest. Richard Lewis and myself, Richard calls Larry the Hog, because all the seasons I've been on the show, no one has done a scene with me by themselves. It's always me and Larry, or me, Larry, and somebody else. So Richard calls Larry the Hog because he feels like Larry hogs me, and he doesn't let anybody else do any scenes with me but him. So I didn't get a chance to really, the first 4 seasons, 3 seasons really, 3 or 4 seasons, I didn't get a chance to do any scenes with anybody else, anything substantial. It's always me and Larry, And then at one point, I thought I said, what if one day Larry does a scene where Leon is not even a real person, like Leon is a snuffleupagus of Curb. Remember snuffleupagus from Sesame Street? Only Big Bird saw him. You know. So I don't know. You know, how funny would that be if Leon wasn't even real and it was just a figment of Larry's imagination and he's a snuffleupagus of Curb? How funny would that be? But I think I think that's that's all. You know, I think that's what makes a good story and a good setup makes for great TV, man. And somehow the universe puts you in these unique positions. You know, I was even before I did the stand. When I did the stand up, who would know that I would do an improv class at the old Improv Comedy Club in New York, and right after that summer session was over, that club would close down, and there will be no more Improv Comedy Club. But just likely that just one guy got a chance to go to that particular improv class, being taught by Marty Friedman from SCTV, and to take that improv class and put that in my toolbox and, you know, start performing and doing stand-up and improvising in my stand-up. And who would know that years later, you know, that young comic would end up on possibly the most amazing improvised show on TV. You know, no one knows their journey. And sometimes you just gotta respect the process, man, and be in the right place at the right time, man, and just take the best swing you could take. And you know, I ended up beating Larry, man. That in that audition, I didn't know anybody on that show before I got on the show. You know, which I love the element of surprise because, you know, you can always, you know, go a lot harder. You can go harder than the average person because you know when you don't have nothing to lose, you know, people can always pull you back. It's hard to turn you up. So I always swing hard, man. I go for the fences every time, and that continues throughout my 5 seasons I've been on the show.
And that's what I think has made you such a standout over the years. One of the interesting things about, you know, having this show based in improvisation is you really, I'm guessing, got to really craft this character the way you wanted to see him. And I'm wondering, you know, oftentimes people aren't able to separate an actor from a character that they play. But are there any traits of Leon that you brought to that character that hit a little close to home for you?
Oh man, I always like to get a rise out of people, but I'm also a guy who loves to take the long way around. When I tell a story or when I present something to Larry, I do the same thing in my normal life, which is I like to paint pictures. I like to, even in my stand-up, I like to paint pictures. You know, although I have a premise, I have the joke, I have the premise, it changes constantly because I use my improv skills. You know, people think that comedians talk a lot. We do talk a lot, but we have to be very intent on listening to what exactly this particular audience is laughing at. You know, what makes, you know, this night tonight in front of this audience laugh? Is it my mannerisms? Is it my delivery? Is it, I mean, what is it? My body language? I don't know. Whatever it is, you know, I got to be able to listen to what is presented to me in the world of improv. So there are improv rules, you know, and I'm a guy that loves to take the long way around, man. You'd be surprised how just a thought, I can take a thought and I can turn that thought into a full page of dialogue because I like to take the long way around. And long details, I call it details. Details is what makes a good joke, which makes a great scene. You know, so when I'm really telling Larry stuff, you know, I'm really pulling from how I normally tell a good story and how I can take that and add that to the character of Leon. I don't dress like Leon, of course, but I do think there's has.
So, should you get nominated for an Emmy, which I think would be fantastic if that happened, you'd have to submit an episode from the season that you think best showcases your work. What episode do you think you would submit to the Emmy voters?
Oh man, that's a hard one, man. I think, you know what? The first time I submitted for Emmy consideration, I was torn between. This was season, I think 8. I think it might have been the New York season. I thought it was. So I'm always, I don't know. I'm always kind of on the fence about, because I can have my favorite scene and my favorite episode, but sometimes my favorite episode, is not everyone else's favorite episode. So I remember when so that season, the New York season, I thought it was Leon's arrival into New York. When it showed up and he drove the Prius across country because he didn't have an ID to take a flight, and he drove Larry's car all the way across the country and showed up in New York. I thought it was that one. Larry thought it was Leon wearing the glasses and becoming smarter, or perceived smarter, because he wore glasses before because he had glasses on. Now, they both are great episodes, but that's the hard part about, it's hard for me to envision what I think is the episode, but I know there are some amazing moments this season. I would think, something that I think that really shows, I think it would have to be the Cabo. I think the Cabo episode in Cabo, it shows Leon on the plane with everybody, shows Leon wiggle his way into it. When Larry asked him, when Larry and Jeff were talking about getting a plane, and Leon said, "Yeah, let's do that." And we talked about, and Leon said, you're not invited to the wedding." And Leon said, "Just consider me luggage, for me to share, strap me in a little bit, And then he said, "But people who come on the plane gotta chip in, And I my whole philosophy was, why would I chip in? I'm with you, And then I said at the end, I said, "Hey, if I'm considered luggage don't chip in, I'm just going with you, brother." So I think that episode was great because it showed Leon in Cabo, it showed Leon getting on the plane, it showed Leon in Cabo with them. Leon even told Larry a few tricks of the trade on how to get a bigger room, a handicap room. Leon talked about getting a massage. Does he have to pay for the massage by the housekeeper? By the maid. So all these little Leon tricks of the trade. Larry and I still on the beams and all that kind of good stuff. I think that's good. I think that's a good episode where it's a lot of Leon content in that episode. So if I had to pick one right now off the top of the dome, although there are some amazing moments this season where I think there are better Leon lines. I always try to think of things that are hashtagable. When I deliver a cool line. Like this season, we had some really good ones this season. I gotta say, we had some really good moments this season. So, we got the Big Johnson community stuff, from last episode. Of course, we got the scene with Vince Vaughn, the Pussy T. It's so many. How do you even it's just, I'm not a good judge of, I have favoritism towards my appearance overall in the episode, but is it the greatest lines? Some of the best lines were when Leon had only maybe 2 scenes, but those scenes are memorable because the content was amazing, and I think I came up with some really good hashtagable lines. So I still say it's Cabo. Going to Cabo is great. And you gotta realize, man, I'm tainted because here's why I'm tainted. Because there's so many, picture everything you've seen on Curb, right? Every show. Meanwhile, not just myself, but everybody else, there's tons of stuff that didn't make the show. So for me, I'm always like, damn, I wish that would have made the show. Oh, damn, I wish that would have made the show. So many lines that didn't make the show that I'm kind of tainted because, I wish certain lines would have made the show. But, Larry puts the show together like a puzzle, and some things are not going to make it. So, tapping hours. Episode 1. Come on, man. Tapping hours. Leon telling Larry, no old white man should be out after midnight. There's nothing going on after midnight. There's no yacht club or garage sales going on. These are tapping hours. Tapping hours. No better. No, how do you even top tapping hours? Come on, man. Tapping hours. It's really hard as an actor to pick what you feel is amazing. It's kind of like, I kind of let's go by the, I'll take Larry's word for what he thinks I should submit, or one of the producers, maybe Jeff Schaefer. But it's hard. It's hard, man. And I think Curb is on a roll. I think the more that goes on, and how do you meet? Oh, come on, man. The MAGA hat. Come on, man. They're wearing that MAGA hat backwards. Gotta see your ass kicking coming. Come on, man. These are off the top of the head, man. How do you even pick when you're just being natural in your character? But I think it comes down to fan favorites, man. It's very hard for an actor to choose what he feels this is creme de la creme of work. I think I go by the masses, man, and see what they think. But I will be blessed as an actor to be nominated. I think Larry put together an amazing season. I think we're all at the mercy of the master, of funny, and the master of improvising. And I think Larry has mastered that animal. I think he's mastered that animal, and he puts you in great positions. And the opportunity for the show on a whole to be nominated would be amazing, number one. But also the possibility of the Leon character being nominated would be spectacular.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And JB, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. We wish you all the best this Emmy season. And to our viewers, make sure you like this video, click subscribe, and to get all our latest videos, then be sure to visit goldderby.com where you can make your predictions and see if you can outsmart the biggest prognosticators in Hollywood. Again, thanks so much, JB.
Play lamping, baby. Get your hay. I'm lamping up in here. We all stuck in the house. You better start lamping in your house, man, until all this is over. Straight lamping, baby. It'll be good, man. Hey, I love you guys for supporting the show, man. I appreciate the love too.